The physical description of the Prophet's prayer alayhi salatu wasalam is first to face the Qibla, to stand up and to offer takbir of the opening takbir, which says Allahu Akbar. Raising your hands to the level of your shoulders and your fingertips to the level of your ears. And there is nothing as holding your ears like this, like some schools of thought do, reprimanding themselves. Why would you pull your ears down? This is not from the Sunnah at all. It's just like this. And they touch their ears because of the description of the hadith that he used to raise his hands to his ears, that this is pointing to the tips and the hand to the shoulders. But nowhere it said touching your shoulders or your ears. Then he used to put the right hand over the left hand, and he used to look down and not look up. In the prayer, you don't look up. You show your submissiveness and express your poverty while looking down at the place where you put your head in prostration. Then the Prophet would say the opening dua. Then he would seek refuge in Allah from Satan. And then he says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Then he would recite the Fatiha. And afterwards recite a surah of the Quran. Afterwards, he would raise his hands again and then goes for ruku' or bowing position. And would place his hands on the knees and spread the fingers as described earlier, and keeping his arms away from his sides, making his back straight and his head straight, and he does not tilt neither one, saying Subhana Rabbi al-Azim 3 times, and would sometimes add to that and glorifying Allah Azza wa Jal when he is in the bowing position. Then he raises his head and says to the standing position, Sami Allahu liman hamidah, raising his hands again in the same fashion, and saying Rabbana wa lakal hamd, or Rabbana lakal hamd, or Allahumma Rabbana lakal hamd, or Allahumma Rabbana wa lakal hamd, either one. Then he would add to that as a sunnah by saying ربنا ولك الحمد ملء السماوات وملء الأرض وملء ما بينهما وملء ما شئت من شيء بعد أهل الثناء والمجد أحق ما قال العبد وكلنا لك عبد لا مانع لما أعطيت ولا معطي لما منعت ولا ينفع ذا الجد منك الجد. All of these are words and phrases of praising Allah and glorifying Him. It has to be said in Arabic. And when reciting Quran in loud rakats, whether it is Maghrib, Isha or Fajr, we notice that the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that in Maghrib he used to recite with the short surahs of Al-Mufassal. Sometimes he would read long surahs such as Surah Al-A'raf or Al-Tur. In Fajr he used to recite with long surahs of Al-Mufassal. And it also can be possible that sometimes he would read short surahs of Al-Mufassal, such as Surah Al-Zalzala or Al-Qadr. And in the remaining, he would read from the middle. So people ask, what is Al-Mufassal? So Al-Mufassal begins with Surah Qaf, which, if I'm not mistaken, chapter 49 or 50. And it ends with chapter 114, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. And it is called Mufassal because it has many short ayahs to it. And the long Mufassal or surahs of Mufassal is from Surah Qaf till Surah An-Naba, عَمَّا يَتَسَاءَلُونَ. And the middle of the Mufassal is from عَمَّا يَتَسَاءَلُونَ until Wadduha, and the short is from Wadduha to the end of the Quran. Then the Prophet would say, Allahu Akbar, without raising his hands, to fall into prostration. When prostrating, he prostrates on 7 limbs, as per the hadith. the forehead alongside with the nose. This is 1, 2 hands, 2 knees, and the 2 feet. He would erect his arms, so he would not place them on the ground, and he would keep them away from his sides. He would keep his stomach away from his thighs away from his legs, and he would not extend his back like a person lying on his face. So it would be moderately prostrating. No extremes of lying on the ground like Superman. Some people do this, and not putting yourself all together like a beast or a dog would prostrate. He used to say Subhana Rabbi al-A'la 3 times. And in sujood, he advised us to say a lot of dua. So prolong your sujood. And he said, ask Allah Azza wa Jal as much as you can, because it's worthy to be responded to. After the 2 sajdas, he says, or after the first sajda, he says Allahu Akbar, and he sits down in a sitting position, in al-iftirash position, where you sit on your left foot, erecting your right foot, pointing the toes to the Qibla. You place your right hand on the right thigh or on your right knee, and you place your left hand on your left thigh as well. While sitting between the 2 sujood, you say Rabbi ghfirli, Rabbi ghfirli, Rabbi ghfirli, or Rabbi ghfirli, warhamni, wa'afini, wajburni, wahdini, warzuqni, etc. Then you offer the second sujood, exactly like the first one in everything. Then you rise up to the second rak'ah saying Allahu Akbar. In the second rak'ah, you do exactly like you had done in the first rak'ah, but without the opening dua and without seeking refuge from in Allah from Satan. Once you conclude the second rak'ah with the ruku' and the 2 sujood, you sit for the tashahhud in the iftirash position. You read the tashahhud and you choose the best of the versions. There are many versions. You choose the most common one, like the hadith of Ibn Mas'ud, and you can shift and change. The sunnah is, as stated in the hadith of Ibn Umar, to do the 53 sign, and you point with your index finger and you look at your index finger while in the tashahhud position. If it is a 3 or 4 rak'ah salat, when you stand up to the third rak'ah after the first tashahhud, you raise your hands as mentioned in takbir, and you complete the rest of the salat as you did in the first and second rak'ah, but reciting the Fatiha only. And if you add another surah, this is fine, but the majority of the time the Prophet used to only recite the Fatiha alayhi salatu wassalam. Then you sit in the third or the fourth rak'ah for the second tashahhud. And the second tashahhud, as we've stated, you sit in the tawarruk position. So you read the tashahhud, التحيات لله والصلوات والطيبات, and you add to it the salutation upon the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد, to the end. And then afterwards, you are recommended to say the dua, seeking refuge in Allah from 4 things. أعوذ بالله من عذاب جهنم ومن عذاب القبر ومن فتنة المحيا والممات ومن فتنة المسيح الدجال. So you seek refuge in Allah Azza wa Jal from the torment of hellfire, the torment of the grave, from the fitna of life and death, and from the fitna of the Antichrist or the impostor Messiah or the Dajjal. And then you ask Allah from whatever you want from this dunya or for the hereafter. After that, you conclude your prayer by saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, so that your chic would be apparent to those praying behind you. Some say that it is recommended to say Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik before you offer salam, and as per the hadith of Mu'adh ibn Jabal, may Allah be pleased with him. It's a point noting that one of the sunnahs of the prayer is to pray to a sutra, or to a visor, or to a screen, or to place something in front of you. So it's recommended that you pray to a thing you put in front of you, or to a wall, or to a pillar in the masjid, or to someone who's sitting, so that it would give a sign to people that you're praying, so that they cannot interfere your boundaries and cross in front of you while praying. And the sunnah is to get as close as possible to this sutra. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when one of you prays, he should pray to a sutra and he should approach it. When one of you prays, let him pray facing a sutra and let him stand close to it, as the Prophet said alayhi as-salatu was-salam.